Pittsburgh. You're watching On the Money with the man I like to call BQ. Brian, how are you?
Joe, how are you? Always good to see you, my friend.
It is. Listen, we're talking this segment about Social Security and the impact that it can have on the modern retiree. But I know there's a big secret, and you want to get it out of the bag.
That there's no magic checkbox on Social Security that's gonna magically increase the amount that you get.
There's no magic box.
There's no magic box. Although there is a magic box. It's called planning.
Well, there you go.
Planning is called the magic
Novel
box.
idea.
But I do want to clarify that because too many people think that there's something that they can check with Social Security or ask Social Security where all of a sudden they're going to get a 20% increase, and it doesn't exist.
Work.
The biggest secret is that they took all the strategies away.
They did. They rechanged the laws.
Right, and that's really where the planning comes in, because the only way you're going to maximize what you're getting from Social Security is actually to tie it into the overall income plan.
And I think that's what's so important, what you just said there, the overall income plan.
Yeah.
How many people, I know in my practice, and I know in your practice, we'll see people come in with a statement from a big box firm. And they've done just an amazing job of saving. Prolific savers. There's a big number, but out of the thousands of statements I've looked at, and I know you are the same way because we talked about this, never on a statement does it show you how much money you can take out to stay retirement ready.
That's right.
And you have to couple that with Social Security, because as long as it's there, that can be a viable part of the overall income plan.
Well, what you're talking about is the pension disappearing, right? I mean, 90% of the people that are retiring are not getting pensions anymore. So that statement that we're looking at really is their pension.
Correct.
And nobody is teaching people and showing them the proper way to use that money. And that's the difference between your practice and the other practices. And what we're doing that's so similar is the fact that we're helping people actually use their money.
Use the money.
Accumulating the money is simple, right? I mean, it doesn't, you know, all you really need is some halfway decent investments and some time.
Save more than you spend and don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, but when you're out of time and you need this transition from accumulating your money to now utilizing your money, and now you got to make decisions around when to collect Social Security, how to start taking withdrawals from your investment accounts, that's when it really matters. And you better have a plan, Joe. You better have a plan, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in some trouble.
It's really tough when you look at folks that have tried to approach this on their own. I mean, have you been to the socialsecurity.gov site?
It's horrible.
I mean, I equate it to the Library of Congress, right? And well, the answer's in there, but every book's being knocked over, and it's buried, and you can't find the real information that you need. This is so hard for folks to plan on their own, and I think so many folks just say, well, Aunt Sue did this and Uncle Ed did that, but really it's not a one bucket fits all.
No, and think about it like this. I mean, my dad taught us how to fix our cars when we were kids, right? And I can remember it was like he would hand me a part and I go, okay, well, now what?
What do I do? Yeah. Well,
and Social Security is that part.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do I do? How do I actually implement this? And that's really where the planning part comes in. And there's so much good you can do when it comes to maximizing your Social Security with a good plan, because it may be, and I know you see the same thing in your practice, everybody's situation is so different. There are some people that, because of how much they saved and where they saved that money, taxable versus tax-free, they may be able to actually delay Social Security and take advantage of that 8% increase you get. There are others where it's not going to benefit them to delay. And the thing is that most of the advice out there is delay, delay, delay.
Correct. Correct. And that's not always the case.
That's not always the case.
And I think what's so important, and you said at the beginning, I want to reiterate, if you haven't saved enough, and life is hard, folks. Sometimes it's just hard to put money away. Maybe that's you. You're like, man, I wish I had. There's no secret. The secret might be on this. Just take it. But if you've accumulated some wealth, this is specifically important because there are strategies and some things you have to consider. Revolving around the tax consequences of your other assets, how this can be the perfect marriage and doing it right.
Yeah, and you make a great point. I mean, if you haven't saved enough, your best option if you want to retire might just be take it right now.
Absolutely.
Right? Or work as long as you can and try to save more and then take it. But for those that actually have accumulated some wealth, this is where Social Security planning really can become powerful as far as how you're maximizing your own assets along with Social Security. I mean, think about it. For every dollar that you get in Social Security, it could be $1 less you have to take from your investments. Well,
say that again, because that's so profound, yet it's so simple.
Every dollar you get in Social Security is $1 less you have to take from your investments.
You don't have to spend out of your savings.
You don't have to spend out of your savings. So think about what that does to your wealth over time.
Compounds it up.
Think about how that protects your purchasing power over time, right? Because one of the rules that can be changed on Social Security, and the other big secret is that, Social Security, when it started, we were promised it would never be taxed. Right. And then what happened in 83? I think
'83 with Ronald Reagan.
Right, he changed. He started taxing.
Well, math started winning, and they realized there wasn't enough money in there.
That's right. And then Clinton taxed it again. So now up to 85% of the benefit could become taxable. Right. So think about it. If all of a sudden tax rates go up, and I talk to people every single week, so do you on your TV show and radio show, all the educational events we do. If you ask people today if they think taxes are going up or down in the future, they tell you they're going up. And if that's the case, think about the loss of purchasing power as taxes go up and they're getting less money. And then on top of it, if inflation continues to run at the rate that it's going to be running, and we have to think about purchasing power long term because that's what matters.
That's how you afford the milk. That's how you get the gas in the car.
That's right. The account value on the statements is less important than the cash flow that can be generated from the investments themselves.
So powerful.
So powerful, right?
And you need a written income plan.
You absolutely do. And this is why I love the fact that we've put together a very simple retirement readiness report that allows people to look at all these different options that they can choose, along with a Social Security report that can dial some of this stuff in. And it's just important that people have information laid out and they look at the math. And both you and I are big believers in the math.
Math will win all the time.
All the time it will win. And so many people are not building their plans around math. And so it's just important that we look through these strategies. And Social Security is a big decision. Just like choosing your Medicare is a big decision.
Correct.
Do I do a supplement? Do I do an Advantage plan, right? I mean, do I use Medigap? Do I use an Advantage plan? These are all big decisions that need to be made.
And that's why it's so important. And I know you do this so well at your firm, that it's a comprehensive retirement plan.
That's right.
It's not just let's grow the money. Okay, how does it all work? It needs to be a symphony. Everything has to go together so you can have the retirement of your dreams.
That's right. Your income, your taxes,
yes,
your investments,
yes,
your healthcare strategy, and most importantly, your estate planning strategy. That's what that retirement planning is all about.
Folks, so many of you that are out there probably are thinking about, wow, I haven't really thought about Social Security and the impact it has on my overall retirement. This is exactly for you. Brian and his team are standing by. We need you to dial 888-382-1298. You get one shot at retirement. Ask yourself this question: what if I choose poorly when to turn on my Social Security? How does it affect my overall retirement plan? Am I going to have enough money? Brian, it's important not just to retire, but to be and stay retired. And to do that, you have to have the proper income position. And so what the team's standing by and ready to offer you is a retirement readiness review. And a part of that is a written income plan with a Social Security maximization report. But again, we need you to dial 888-382-1298. You owe it to yourself to be and stay retirement ready. Call that number and say, I want a Social Security maximization report. Thank you for watching On the Money.
Call 888-382-1298 to receive your complimentary retirement readiness review and Social Security maximization report. Get the most from your Social Security payments. Find a strategy that maximizes your Social Security benefit and preserves the assets you've saved for retirement. Social Security seems easy, right? The question is, should you take it now or later? There are numerous ways to file for Social Security. The decisions you make can also affect how much you pay in taxes. You've paid into Social Security for decades. Now, get the most out of your Social Security benefit. Call Brian and his team, 888-382-1298 for your complimentary retirement readiness review and Social Security maximization report. Now you need to build that into a retirement income plan with all your assets. Call Brian and his team right now, 888-382-1298 to receive your complimentary retirement readiness review and Social Security maximization report. Or use the QR code on the screen to schedule your appointment today.
Pittsburgh, you're watching On the Money with BQ. Brian, we are talking today about legacy. Now, we're in Pittsburgh.
Do you think anybody knows what legacy is?
Probably not. Yeah, no.
Right.
Legacy planning
right.
is a challenge. I think we start there.
Yeah.
What is legacy planning for the modern retiree from Pittsburgh?
Well, let's first talk about what they think it is, right?
Okay.
They think it's when you put together legal documents, right?
Yeah.
When you put together a trust and a will and a living will and all those documents, right? But really, legacy planning comes down to really having a retirement strategy that leads into the legacy plan. Because what people don't realize is that the most important document you own actually is not any of your legal documents.
Right.
It actually is the beneficiary document on your IRAs, your 401ks, your insurance products like life insurance and
Correct.
annuities, that beneficiary document trumps every
Everything.
legal document you
It's
have.
the trump card.
It's the trump card. And a lot of people think that they need a trust to avoid probate and things along those lines, when in fact, a beneficiary form avoids probate.
Correct.
So people are setting up estate planning strategies without having a real written retirement plan in place first. And what happens is things are missed. Not all the I's are dotted and not all the T's are crossed.
Correct. You have to have a written income plan, because think about this. When you're marching into retirement, the pensions are gone.
Right.
What you're going to be able to spend and live off of are the assets that you've accumulated.
That's right.
I don't know how Wall Street, it's failed the modern retiree.
Yeah.
Because what they've done is promoted this what's your number. There's a whole commercial on what's your number, what's your number, what's your
That's
number.
it. That's right.
But it's not the number.
No.
It's the income derived off that number that allows people to stay retired.
That's
because
right.
as we know in this market, that number can be up, and honey, it can be gone like that.
That's right. And what you're really talking about is purchasing power.
Correct.
Right? How are you going to continue to maintain your lifestyle if you lose purchasing power? So if you have a portfolio that you're taking money out of and the market goes down, are you going to continue to take money out? You could, but if you do, you run the risk of running out of money, because now not only are you locking in the losses because the market took it away, but you're compounding the loss.
Correct.
By pulling the money out.
Correct.
And this is a very dangerous thing for people to be doing, but yet they're being advised over and over
know.
again to do
I
it
know.
because they don't understand.
They don't understand
Wall
it.
Street does not understand income distribution. They just don't. They understand accumulation, and that's it.
Right.
And what Wall Street needs is time with your money. But when you don't have time, Wall Street's not the place for the money.
That's correct.
Now, you could have Wall Street in some portion of the plan, but you can't have it in all.
Correct.
Because if you're rolling the dice with 100% of your money, bad things potentially could happen.
Well, the world saw that. We don't have to go back to 08, 09, go back further. Go back to the lost decade. I
Right.
mean, think of 2000. 1999, everything was hot.
Yep.
In 2000, you're down 10%. 2001, you're down about 13. 2002, you're down almost 40% between those 3 years.
Yes,
Down.
that's
If
right.
you're taking the old John Wayne shoot from the hip 4% rule income off of that,
Yep.
your income has gone, if you had $1 million from 40 grand, substantially less, almost cut in half, because the assets have come down as you pull money out.
That's right.
And so when it comes to legacy and leaving a legacy, not only do you have to plan on your income and how to survive that, but you've said this in previous shows, you can only spend after tax money. Most folks don't have a clue at the tax implications sitting right now, the hidden debt they owe
That's right.
in their 401ks and IRAs, and how it affects their legacy.
You mean the IRS is the largest beneficiary and shareholder of most qualified plans?
Indeed, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that putting money into a trust, and I know you see this, they think that they're going to magically avoid all this
Right,
taxation.
right.
But the reality is, for most people, their largest asset they have is an IRA or a 401k.
Correct.
That money cannot go into a trust.
Correct.
If it goes into a trust, it becomes taxable.
Correct.
So the only way to properly get that money, right, into a legacy plan that would be tax efficient is actually to do tax planning
Now.
in the retirement
Correct.
planning portion
and
of
to do it now.
That's right. That's right.
And the reason we say now is because we know if Congress does nothing, and they're brilliant at doing nothing, the current tax law will change at the end of 2025.
That's right.
So there is a window of opportunity for legacy planning now, just because Congress has that window.
We're at the best tax rates we've ever seen.
Ever.
And just to your point, Congress can change the rules at
In a
any
heartbeat.
point in time. Look what they did with the RMD.
Correct.
Right? So the RMD was actually worked in our favor. It went from 70.5 to 72, but there's legislation right now where they want to increase the amount of money that you're required to take out. And
Correct.
so they, not only that, but they could vote themselves into being a larger shareholder
share.
in your retirement
And I would
accounts.
challenge on top of that to say at $30 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
I think the odds of that happening
And I
are
don't
higher.
think people understand, Joe, that they
No.
can get the IRS out of the picture.
Out of it.
Get them
Let's-
out. Buy them out right now.
You showed me something at breakfast. We have to go over it.
Yeah.
This is part of what we're talking about today, folks. If you're hearing this and you have money in a 401k and an IRA, what we like to say in the industry is a qualified plan. I want you to pay attention here. Brian ran this example. It was a 65-year-old man. Here's some assumptions: $1
Yep.
million
Yep.
in an IRA. You just ran the taxes where they are today, 25%, and stayed that way forever.
Forever.
But as you know, most people that have accumulated wealth, they ended up not just living off this money. They have other assets. They just want to reinvest it and let it grow.
Right.
So you took this 65-year-old, takes the RMDs, reinvests the RMDs. There's still taxes due.
That's right.
And then it passes away at 90. And so then there's money still left in there that the kids have to pay
Inherit,
taxes
yeah.
on. When you run that report, $1 million at 65 to 90, the total taxes paid and due on that is over
That's right.
$900,000.
Yes.
That is why, leaving a legacy, you have to look at your tax analysis. You have a clear understanding of how much money you might be able to leave on to the next generation, because somebody's going to get it. And I know you and I know me.
That's right.
I want that to go to my kids.
Yeah, and folks, think about this. When's the last time you wrote a check to the IRS for $995,000?
Oh, Lord.
And that is a check you do not want to write. And again, what Joe and I are talking about here is actually getting the IRS out of the picture with proper planning so that the legacy component becomes tax-free. Right? I mean, this
That's
is,
it.
and I know you see it all the time in your practice. No planning is being done on these accounts.
None.
You know, people are not getting planning. They're getting some investment strategy advice,
Right.
you know, but that's not a retirement plan. Retirement plans are all about your income. It's about your taxes. It's about your
right.
investments. It's about your healthcare strategy. And of course, what we're talking about right now is the legacy component of it.
component.
These are very important because when you do get it right, you know, I've got 2 young kids. I know what's interesting is you and I are about the same age.
Yeah.
You're sending your kids to college,
Yeah.
and I'm just starting.
I got a little head start, buddy.
Yeah, but I know you feel the same way I do. I don't want to have my death come and my kids think, wow, my dad was a smart guy, but how did he miss this?
How did he miss this?
How did he wind up leaving the IRS the largest beneficiary?
Right.
And nobody watching this show wants to see that
No one.
happen to their money.
No one.
But unfortunately, they're not getting the proper advice, or they're taking the advice from the wrong people, Joe.
That's right. Pittsburgh, listen, if you have retirement money and you have IRAs and 401ks, this show is specifically for you. You need to have a clear understanding of the legacy that you can leave to your beneficiaries, whether it's an institution or your own children. You need to dial 888-382-1298. And when you call, tell them it's a retirement readiness review and you would like to get a detailed tax map. If you have an IRA or 401k, you need a tax map. Why? Because taxes are owed on that money and it will have an effect on your legacy planning. But to do that, we need you to dial 888-382-1298 so you can be and stay retirement ready.
Call 888-382-1298 right now for your own retirement readiness review. Having a clear path to retirement is more than just your savings. This review will include a complete risk analysis on your portfolio, an in-depth fee analysis to determine how much you are and could be paying on those investments, a tax reduction report, and lastly, we'll look at health care and legacy planning for you and your estate. To begin your retirement readiness review, call Brian and his team at 888-382-1298 or use the QR code to schedule your appointment today. Whether your retirement is coming soon or you want to be certain you can stay retired, the Retirement Readiness Review will help guide you through your financial planning needs. Call Brian and his team, 888-382-1298 or use that QR code to schedule your meeting today.
Welcome to On the Money with Secure Money. I'm your host, Brian Quaranta, and in studio with me today is my good friend, Joe Wilson. Joe, how are you?
I'm wonderful, buddy. Good to see you.
Should I tell everybody you're from Ohio?
The Nasty Natty.
No.
A Houday fan.
Right.
My God, and we're on the same set.
That's risky.
That is
risky.
risky.
And I think that's what we're talking about today is risk and how much risk can really impact somebody's retirement and how much it's not being taken into account.
Right.
And I don't think people really understand how to define risk. I know for me, I define risk, it's very simple. If it can go up in value or it can go down in value, it's risky.
Correct.
Period, bottom line.
I love that.
So many people are taught that there's this measurement of risk by calling it a conservative portfolio or moderately conservative or moderately aggressive. What's your thoughts and opinions on risk?
Well, here's the challenge. I think risk can be defined. Wall Street, let's just start there, has done a terrible job of defining risk. I think anytime there's just generic questionnaire and conservative, moderate, aggressive, well, what does that mean?
Right.
It's like saying, how spicy do you want your enchilada? I mean, it's a variable.
Yeah.
There needs to be a quantitative reasoning behind that. And I know that's what I love about what you all do, and you shared with us, and we adopt that in our practice. In the ability to really quantify someone's willingness to what are they willing to lose. They have $1 million. Is losing $200,000 risky to them?
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a frightening scenario.
Absolutely.
And so I think, Wall Street has just gotten this all wrong because they've just lulled people to sleep that I'm a moderate investor, but they've never showed them what a moderate investor could lose in markets like this.
I think the other risky thing is the way that Wall Street looks at math.
Okay.
I mean, you and I look at math completely different. I mean,
yes.
And you know, we've talked about this example many times, but Wall Street's legally allowed to say something like this. So let's say we have somebody that has $100,000 and they lose 50% of that money. So now they go to $50,000, okay? The next year they earn 50%.
Okay.
Well, minus 50 plus 50, that's an average return of zero.
Zero.
Zero. So you would
Yes.
think that with a 0% rate of return, a 2-year average of zero, you would still have $100,000. The reality is, when you return 50% on $50,000, you're only going back to 75,000.
75.
So that's still a 25%
That's a major loss of cabbage.
So that's the difference between real rate of return
Versus average.
versus averages.
And
why is nobody talking about
Well, because
that?
Wall Street loves to pump this whole average rate of return thing. I mean,
Right.
you get these Morningstar reports and average. My Lord, just the modern retiree and their options that they can select in a 401k.
Yeah.
Most folks, as you know, they'll look at the sheet and go, that's average this, that's average. I'm just going to put it there.
Yes.
It is completely oblivious to really what risk is and how it
Yes.
can affect the modern retiree in these down markets. I got to tell you a story. We had someone that called in not too long ago and came in. They had amassed about $2.8 million, a great sum of money.
Right.
Here's the issue, Brian. 82 years old. Had amazing run up in the market. And came to us right after the first quarter of this year going, something's messed up. They were down over $700,000
Wow.
in 3 months.
Wow.
At 81.
Yeah.
We did the risk analysis that I know you're going to talk about here. And we were able to look and see that they had 85% of their portfolio in growth mutual funds.
Wow.
At 82 years
That's
old.
incredible.
That is risk.
Right.
And they looked at us and said, we thought we were conservatively moderate.
Yeah. Isn't that risk evaluation that we do so powerful? Because
It is.
I know you and I were taught, 20 plus years ago at the big box firms, we were both taught about the whole, moderately conservative, moderately aggressive, that whole strategy. And none of it really made any sense.
Right.
But today, because of technology, we're actually able to quantify risk in the form of a number.
And I don't think people realize that.
No, and now you can look at it and you can say, look, how much are you willing to lose? Because when you quantify risk in a number, you can actually determine maybe what your probability of drawdown is going to be. So a lot of times when we look at people's portfolios and they say that they're relatively conservative, and we run a risk score on them, and again, that's on a scale from 1 to 99, right?
Right.
99 being the highest.
Sure.
People will say, look, we're not risky at all, and we'll find out they have a risk score of 80,
Isn't that amazing?
right? Which is very, very risky.
Very risky.
Now, we also do a quiz with them, and their quiz will come back and it'll say their risk score should really be a 25 or a 30, but their portfolio is invested at an 80. That's eye-opening to people.
It is.
Because
and I think that was allowed to skate through because everything went up over this
Right.
last decade
Yeah.
because the Fed was easy. It was low interest rates, pumping the economy with all this
Yeah.
free money. And now it's time to have that root canal and that drilling. And it is shocking some folks when they're opening those statements for the first time, looking at some of these quarterly statements and going, oh my Lord, how much are we losing? And why?
And the difference is protecting your retirement lifestyle. So I've always said if you protect your retirement lifestyle, risk is okay.
That's right.
Right? Because if you're going to take
We
risk,
need
there's,
risk.
there's nothing wrong with risk.
That's
the
right.
question is, can you afford to take the risk? And most people, and we see this all the time, people are rolling the dice with 100% of their life
They
savings.
manage it all the same
That's right.
way.
And we know from being in the financial industry as long as we have, your number one most important thing that you need when you're taking risk is time.
You got to have time on your
So
side.
think about all the people that we meet that are with these big box firms that are not being advised the right way, that are actually pulling money out of their portfolios while they're going down in value.
That's right.
So not only is the market taking their money away, but they're compounding those losses by pulling income out.
Because they have to live.
Because they have to live. They're not going to stop. But now their probability of running out of money drastically goes up.
And that's because they've managed it the old big box way off
Yeah.
of a number of a statement and just assuming, if we get this and if you do that and if,
Yep.
and it just doesn't work in the real world.
I know you guys focus at your practice a lot on protecting that retirement lifestyle.
You have
and,
to.
And I believe that if you can carve off enough money to protect at least the first 15 to 20 years of retirement, that buys you enough time
That's right.
on any money that you have in the market.
That's right.
What's your ratio there? Do you guys like to carve off at least 15 to 20 years, at least 10 years? How much do you try to carve off typically?
We like to look at it and feel that we look at what are your necessities.
Yep.
What are your necessities? And they're going to change as
So
you get older.
basic expenses?
Yeah, to stay retired. You're going to have your go-go years, and then your kind of slow-go, then the no-go years.
Yeah,
so
right.
there's some necessities that you have to cover. But I think you don't retire just to live inside of a hermit. You got to have some lifestyle. And as long as you have breath in your body, BQ, when you retire, you have to have your necessities covered. And that's the number that you have to look at.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to position these assets.
Isn't that the truth? Folks, I can't tell you how important it is to protect your retirement lifestyle before you even consider taking risk. I've said on a number of occasions, if you've won the game, there's absolutely no reason to continue to play it.
Boy, that's true.
The only reason you should ever be able to continue to take risks is because you've protected your lifestyle first. So if you're in a position right now where you don't know how much risk you're taking, you don't know how much potential money you could lose, if the market continued to go down, would you have to delay retirement, potentially come out of retirement? Don't put yourself in that position. Come in and get a risk analysis from us today. I want you to call the number on the screen. It's 1-888-382-1298. And when our team answers, I want you to tell them that you want to schedule a complimentary retirement readiness review and tell them that you want the risk report along with it so that we can help you quantify the amount of risk that you're taking. Again, call the number 1-888-382-1298 or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen.
Call 888-382-1298 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report. Why take unnecessary risk when you don't have to? At 65 years old, would you drive to the grocery store at 100 miles per hour if 40 miles per hour would get you there safely? When nearing retirement, are you still driving your investment accounts like you're in your 30s or 40s? Have you changed your investment election since you first chose them in your retirement accounts at work? Call Brian and his team at 888-382-1298 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report. Do you know exactly how much risk you are taking in your investment accounts? Now that you've accumulated a nest egg for retirement, you want to be certain the risk you're taking in those investments matches your goals and objectives. Call Brian and his team, 888-382-1298 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report, or use the QR code below to begin scheduling your appointment. You may not have time to recover from taking too much risk.